I'm interested, Dave, as to what this is going to mean for all those that want the latest, greatest hardware from Meta. How much quickly will it be in their hands?
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me on. We're excited to be working with Meta in this way. We're in the midst of deploying software now. We'll deploy with them over Q1, Q2 of this year, and finalize in Q3.
Interestingly, had a little spy on your website. Meta's not the only brand that I saw. Fanatics is another one. How are you scaling new companies to come on and basically be the first customers that you have for this startup?
Well, we've been building out the product for the last year. We deployed in proof of concepts with customers in the middle of last year, including Meta and Fanatics. And so what we've been doing is building the platform for how you're going to build an autonomous operating system for supply chain. At its core is really the contextual infrastructure for data across the supply chain world that makes it happen. And because we build it as this platform of infrastructure, it's very scalable from customer to customer.
Dave, without trivializing it, why the name Augur? What does it represent? I think that might give us an insight into what the company is and what it does.
Well, if you think about the big challenge in supply chain is really trying to connect all of this disconnected data together to make it reason together, to create a layer of contextualization and understanding. And to do that, you really have to have both the technology and the knowledge to drill down into an organization, to drill into the process of how they work, to enable that. And so Augur fit a lot of things that we really liked and had some meaning behind it as well for how to think about it. Also, supply chain's a contact sport. Like, this is not, the world wakes up every day trying to wreak havoc on supply chain planners around the world, and so we thought it was a framing that sort of represented the grit and determination and sort of just grind through it that represents operators around the world.
We're showing video of how the software, the platform works. We know you from your time at Amazon, right, and your experience of global supply chains. You had a brief tenure at Flexport, and maybe we'll get into that another time. But I don't know you as a software guy. How did you build this platform? What are the people behind the core competency here, please?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about, Amazon is in many ways a supply chain technology company at its core. My team had thousands of software developers, the last mile technology teams, the robotics teams, the inventory forecasting, ML neural network teams. So while I don't write code for a living, I've been leading and working with software teams for 2 decades now, and we have a phenomenal team of people, many of whom were from folks I've worked with in my past lives, and some new folks that have joined us from other places. But the unifying bit of the whole group is people incredibly passionate about customers, incredibly curious about the technology that's coming out in the world, and incredibly fast at delivering output for the people we're working for.
It's an agentic technology that's going to drive us forward in many ways, Dave. But what's so interesting is I see the retail benefits. I see the e-commerce lived experience, and I can see what's happening with Meta and Fanatics. But how does this expand? Supply chains is something we talk about in every type of industry right now, and particularly in a national security context.
That's right. I mean, at the core of this thing is really, while agentics is the subject of so much of the conversation, the way you make agentics work is through context. Context is king, and our core platform is really about context enablement across large global enterprise data sets, unifying thousands of tables into one operable platform of data that agents can actually then work with for autonomy. And so that's extensible in all aspects of the world. Where our early customers today are focused more in the consumer space, but we're also partnering, looking at working with governments to enable process flow. You can imagine the kind of work that needs to be done to connect sovereigns, not just companies, and we think that's a big expansion area for us as we move forward in the next months ahead.
Taking a step back, we are currently in a day of trade where anxiety runs high on AI disruption of software companies. And I'm interested as to how you felt that Augur is something you needed to build for yourself as an operating system, rather than companies plugging in what is currently being developed by large language models.
Well, as I said, I think the large language models can only do so much. Large language models are fantastic, but they're limited by the context you provide them. And what was missing, and what I saw nobody building, was the contextual infrastructure to make supply chains work as a unit. And so we felt, we had the right technology background, we had the right operational background, sort of right team, right technology, right time to go out and do this. We think it's one of the, sort of few big enablement plays at a global scale you can really go out in software and change the way the physical world interacts.